So basically, what we have today are people who are trying to pervert the Constitution. They are not, they believe it's, well, as Bush, the current president, says, it's just a GD piece of paper. I didn't particularly care for that when I heard it. Let me see, he swore an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And I find it interesting that the Vice President says, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The President's oath just says, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Because he doesn't feel he can be an enemy. They like quotes. So I do a few quotes. I wrote down a few that are out of these 2 issues of Shotgun News. First one I'd like to give you is from a fellow who was the Lexington minister, Lexington, Massachusetts, the minister of Lexington, Massachusetts. His name was Jonas Clark, Reverend Jonas Clark, in 1768. He said this: where courage, valor, or fortitude has reason for its basis, it enables men to face the greatest dangers, to stand the severest shocks, to meet undaunted and serene the charge of the most formidable enemy and all the horrors of war. These people were very religious back in those days. And he was prepping the people because they saw what was coming. They prepared for what was coming. In 1773, there was a report from the committee correspondence adopted by the town of Lexington that said, we shall be ready to sacrifice our estates and everything dear in life, yea, and life itself, in support of the common cause, which was liberty, freedom. I find it interesting, but Alex was over in London, England, and asked a woman whether she preferred liberty or freedom. She said she'll give up liberty for some more freedom. It's double speak.
Yeah, I saw that.
Learn to watch, learn to listen, be aware of your surroundings, see what's happening, and if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. That small, still voice within you is telling you, get ready. Survival. You have a survival instinct. Prepare. That's what this RifleMan Project does. It prepares people to survive this. We're not out to create a revolution. What we like to do is get people re-indoctrinated with their founding history, learn how to shoot a rifle. And you find it when you were in high school, say, did you find, or in grade school, did you find that the bully in the schoolyard beat up on the biggest, toughest guy, or did he go and pick on the little guy who couldn't defend himself? Well, the government's the same way. They'll beat up on those people they figure they can't do it with. If you're fully armed and fully prepared and you can shoot better than they can, you back off a little bit. Now, you're supposed to be the master. You're supposed to be the sovereign in this country. Not the government. You are sovereign. Okay. We'll go to the other side. Of course, the British, they were thinking along the same lines, there's going to be problems. Earl of Dartmouth wrote a letter to Thomas Gage, General Thomas Gage, on January 27, 1775. He wrote, keep the measure secret until the moment of execution. It can hardly fail of success. Any efforts of the people unprepared to encounter with a regular force cannot be very formidable. It's the same thing today. An unprepared populace is not very formidable. Now, General Gage, he was pretty smart. He was a military man. He only goofed at one thing. Well, actually several, but one major goof. He understood that the people that he was up against, the colonists, were good at what they did. But he didn't think they had the leadership. Wrong. Insufficient data. Beep, beep, beep. Insufficient data. Wrong. Made a boo-boo there.
If there's a need, one will come.
Oh, they had people. They had people that weren't military people, but who studied military tactics. One was a guy named William Heath, who had the circle of fire, developed the circle of fire, a running skirmish, 20-mile running skirmish that almost wiped out the British after they left Lexington. On their way back, shot him up pretty good. General Thomas Gage wrote on March 4th, 1775, when he was writing to the Earl of Dartmouth, he said, "The most natural and eligible mode of attack on the part of the people is that of detached parties of bushmen." Bushmen. They thought of us like bushmen. No, scum, nothing. Just like somebody else, maybe Africa, running around the bush. Who, from their adroitness in the habitual use of the firelock, suppose themselves sure of their mark at a distance of 200 rods. How many feet is 200 rods? I didn't look it up. It's longer than a yard, right?
A rod is longer than a yard?
What's the difference?
I think a rod is 16 foot.
Is it? He may have meant yards, but he said rods, so I'm just saying what he said. Should hostilities unhappily commence, the first opposition would be irregular, impetuous, and incessant from the numerous bodies that would swarm to the place of action, and all actuated by an enthusiasm wild and ungovernable. Well, when you start shooting people, they have a bad attitude.
I don't like people shooting me either. I get irritated.
But the whole thing here is we the people. First three words in the Constitution, the largest words in the Constitution, we the people. We're the ones that are in control. We're supposed to be in control. But we let everybody else do the work for us. We let the governors do the work. We the people. They're supposed to be our servants, not our masters. We the people. By writing letters, by contacting your representatives, by telling them what you want, making them do what they tell you they're going to do when they campaign. That would be big help. Oh, let me see. My eyes are moving. I don't know. Light isn't too good here. The people alone have an incontestable, unalienable, and indefeasible right to institute government and to reform, alter, or totally change the same when their protection, safety, prosperity, and happiness require it. John Adams, his thoughts on government, 1776. There are several here that I like. If I can find them. Every government degenerates when trusted to the rulers of the people alone. The people themselves, therefore, are its only safe depositories. That's Thomas Jefferson, Notes on the State of Virginia, 1781. The people are the ultimate guardians of their own liberty. Not the courts, not the police, the people. History, by apprising them of the past, will enable them to judge the future. It will avail them to the experience of other times and other nations. It will qualify them as judges of the actions and designs of men. It will enable them to know ambition under every disguise it may assume, and knowing it, to defeat its views. That was Thomas Jefferson again on the Notes of the State of Virginia. We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. That was Abraham Lincoln. So it's gone through time, they've said the same thing. Absolutely the same thing. Contemplate the mangled bodies of your countrymen and say, what should be the reward of such sacrifices? Bid us and our posterity bow the knee, supplicate the friendship, and plow and sow and reap, to glut the avarices of the men who have let loose on us the dogs of war, to riot in our blood and hunt us from the face of the earth. Honor, justice, and humanity forbid us tamely to surrender that freedom which was received from our gallant ancestors, and which our innocent posterity have a right to receive from us. Thomas Jefferson on the Declaration of Causes and Necessities of Taking Up Arms, July 6, 1775. Does anyone know why we had a revolution to begin with? Does anyone know what the reason was? Why we had a fight?
King George.
A what?
King George.
King George? What about King George?
He wanted to control everything here.
That's true.
Taxation without representation.
That's true. Anything else?
Disarmament.
Isn't that a tyranny?
They were, the British were